can't tell me that Joe Schoen wanted to pay Daniel Jones. There's no way in hell that the guy that let McKinney walk out the door because he wanted too much money, he let Saquon walk out the door because he wanted too much money, Julian Love walked out the door because he wanted too much money. Y'all really think he wanted to give Daniel Jones $40 million? All right, look. It's time to bring Joe Schoen, little nerdy ass, into the Fisk unit principal's office, okay? We got to evaluate him. Now, I'm going to get straight to the point. In year one, okay, Joe Schoen went to the playoffs with Dave Gettelman's team. Year one, Saquon, we still had Xavier McKinney, Leonard Williams. He went to the playoffs with Gettelman's team. Okay, that was year one. Year two, as we started to get rid of Gettelman players, the team got worse. Okay? And in year three, when all the Gettelman players outside of Slayton, Thomas, and Dexter were gone, we became pathetic. And we became so pathetic that it led to the owner saying the team is worse now than it was when Schoen took the job. What are we supposed to do with that? Okay? Now, if I'm being fair about the situation, I'd fire his little ass. Okay? If it was up to me, I might have fired him. But then you got to fire Brian Daboll. Now, that's how I look at it. So if I want to keep Daboll, I got to keep Joe Schoen. That's how I look at it. The only problem is the owner, our idiot owner, wanted to keep Joe Schoen and fire Brian Daboll. But because he kept Joe Schoen and he called around the league and found out nobody wanted to work for Joe Schoen, he had to keep Brian Daboll with him. And now we have Schoen and Daboll year 4. That's really what happened. But the thing is, Joe Schoen, since he's taken over the team, it's gotten progressively worse. Everybody laughed at Dave Gettelman when he said computer people. Everybody laughed at Dave Gettelman when they saw he had a notepad and he had pencils and paper and he had a chalkboard. Everybody laughed at Dave Gettelman. I'm sorry, that paper, pen, and chalkboard got us Dexter, Andrew Thomas, Xavier McKinney. It got us some good ass players. What did Joe Schoen's fancy little computer get the Giants? Remember Hard Knocks when he had the video game computer of the players, when he clicked the name, they had animations. Who gives a fuck? That got us Evan Neal. That got us Deontay Banks. That got us bum-ass motherfucking players. So you could take your analytics in your computer department and shove them up your ass because it's done nothing but make this team worse. Can I get my chalkboard back? Can I get my paper and pen back? Can I get my fat guy that wants to look at players in person? Can I get him back? Can I get the hog mollies back? Can I get Dave Gettelman's scouting genius? Can I get that back? Because all the analytics that Joe Schoen is using to pick players, it ain't working. Y'all ran Dave Gettelman out of town when the only thing Gettelman did wrong was draft Daniel Jones. And Daniel Jones might have worked if they didn't fire Pat Shurmur. Daniel Jones been garbage ever since we fired Pat Shurmur. He been garbage. So it's just like, when you evaluate Joe Schoen, evaluate Dave Gettelman. I know Jerry Reese drafted Odell Beckham. I know Jerry Reese is the one who got us Hakeem Nicks and Mario Manningham and Corey Webster and Kenny Phillips and Steve Smith. I know my man Jerry Reese got us Aaron Ross. I know Jerry Reese drafted some good players. Didn't Jerry Reese get us Justin Tuck? Jerry Reese got us Jason Pierre-Paul. Jerry Reese was a good GM. Dave Gettelman drafted Saquon, Thomas, Dexter, Xavier McKinney. What is Joe Schoen drafted? Evan Neal, Kayvon Thibodeau, Deontay Banks. These niggas is trash. So it's like, when you evaluate Joe Schoen, you got to give him an F. Because he let Julian Love go out the building. He let Xavier McKinney go out the building. He let Saquon Barkley go out the building. He traded Leonard Williams, and we ain't been able to stop the run ever since. So it's like, when you really look at the situation, I know John Mara wanted to keep stability, but he might have probably should have fired Joe Schoen, because Joe Schoen hasn't shown us he's capable of building a good roster. He's shown us he's capable of destroying a good roster, but he hasn't shown us he's capable of building a good roster. So it really just comes down to, like, Brian Daboll did a better job in 3 years than Joe Schoen has. I don't really have any complaints with Brian Daboll over the last 3 seasons. I think Brian Daboll made the best out of what he had. And what he had is what Joe Schoen gave him. So if the Giants are garbage and you think the team is trash, who's the guy who put the team together? It all goes back to Joe Schoen. Joe Schoen has been garbage for 3 seasons. Brian Daboll might not have been the greatest, but he can only work with what he's given. Joe Schoen has let 2 all-pro players go. McKinney, Saquon are all-pro players. Okay? They're gone. He let Leonard Williams, who played great for Seattle this year, let him go. Even though I hate Evan Ingram is balling in Jacksonville. I mean, shit. Every player we let go balls when they get to a new team. I can't wait to see what Daniel Jones and Darius Slayton do on new teams. Every time we let a player go, they ball. But it's just like, at some point, the general manager has to swallow his pride and keep the other general manager's talent. So that's why I'm happy we kept Joe Schoen, because all the next GM was going to do was get rid of all of Joe Schoen's good players so he could get the credit. All Joe Schoen did was get rid of all Dave Gettelman's good players so he could get the credit. If Saquon Barkley was drafted by Joe Schoen, he would have got a contract. If Xavier McKinney was drafted by Joe Schoen, he would have got a contract. If Julian Love was drafted by Joe Schoen, he'd have got a contract. But because they were not Joe Schoen players, he had no problem letting them go out the door. And if it wasn't for John Mara treating Daniel Jones like a son, he probably would have let Jones walk out the door too. If there's anything I've learned about Joe Schoen, is he didn't want to pay Daniel Jones. John Mara made Joe Schoen pay Daniel Jones. Y'all can't tell me that Joe Schoen wanted to pay Daniel Jones. There's no way in hell that the guy that let McKinney walk out the door because he wanted too much money, he let Saquon walk out the door because he wanted too much money, Julian Love walked out the door because he wanted too much money. Y'all really think he wanted to give Daniel Jones $40 million? It ain't in Joe Schoen's resume. Everything Joe Schoen has done since he's taken over the team tells me he ain't want to sign Daniel Jones. That was John Mara. So all Joe Schoen has done is get rid of all our good players and flood the team with his players, and his players ain't that damn good. And that's why we're in the position we're in now. It's plain and simple. But anyway, That's it. That's all. Hit the like button. Hit the sub button. Oh, yeah. One more thing. I would have kept Joe Schoen too. Even though I'm about to sound like John Mayer. Oh, man, I'm about to sound like John Mayer. But yeah, keep the continuity. Because at the end of the day, what I want everybody who's listening to this video, what I want you to understand is, if we fired Joe Schoen, the next general manager was going to get rid of all his players and we got to start over and we ain't going to be good for 3 years. So I want to be good next year. The quickest way to be good next season is to actually keep Joe Schoen and Daboll. Now, if I didn't mind sucking for another 3 years, then we could fire them. But I actually want to compete next season, Giants fans. I don't want to be picking at the top of the draft. I don't want to have to hate making content after September again. So the easiest way to have a good team next year is to keep the current regime. It's as simple as that. But anyway, that's it. That's all. Hit the like button. Hit the sub button. Drop F views in the comments if you're rocking with me. And stay vicious. Dismiss.